Hello everyone, it's Stella from Meeple University and this is Tarrant.
Hello.
And we are into May. Wow, already May, and now we're here to share you our top games of April, new to us, that we played, of course, in April 2023.
Yes, so these are, again, these could be older games that we first came across in April or were reprinted in April. They could be new prototypes that have come to us that we played in April. Anything April associated for us.
Could also be review copy, could also be the game that has been commissioned to us to do. Either way, this is all just our opinions. So purely our opinions, and we're gonna have mine and Tarrant's
Top fives.
Correct.
And it's been it was a pretty big April. We got through a lot of games in April.
Yeah.
So very deep competition.
Deep competitions. So we've played some great competition. So after lots of thought, we are going to share you our top 5.
We start with my number 5, and that is this small box game here, Big Top.
By all plays 3 to 4 players.
And this was a really intriguing game, very interesting, something I hadn't seen before, and I'm always looking out for things I hadn't seen before. This is an auction game, and in some ways it's a very conventional auction game. Mm-hmm. There's a deck of cards, and you're trying to get the cards that are worth the most points by simply bidding on them.
And you usually don't really particularly like auction type game.
It can be a tough sell, but what's interesting about this is once you've got a card, you then have to trigger it for scoring, and there'll be a bunch of numbers on that card, and you cover them up temporarily with your own money when you make a bid in that amount. Doesn't matter whether the bid wins or loses. It essentially means that you're getting these cards, and then you have a bunch of cards in front of you that give you numbers that you want to place as a bid. And so the high numbers are harder to get because people might pass out of the bidding before it gets to them. Those tend to be the highest scoring cards. So it adds all this interesting layer of complexity into it. There's a strange little semi-closed economy. So money, when you're auctioning, is passed from player to player, except if the person who starts the bidding wins it, then it goes to the bank. But then the card that's being bid on also gets little bits of money on it when players are bidding the numbers on it. So money slowly goes back in. So this flow of money around just makes for a really intriguing game.
Very intriguing. I would say it's not intuitive, but I only say that because it's not something that you've seen before. So maybe it's because it's something new and you'll be like, what? You have to cover on the bid that whether you want it or not? But it's really intriguing, it's really interesting, and it's just clever.
Yep.
When you think that there's no other mechanics that is new.
Indeed, so that's my number 5.
It's artwork by Miko. Yeah. By the way, how's everyone going? How's your year going? Just let us know in the comments. Also, I would be really thankful every single like that you've clicked on the video, every single comment of you, and optional you can subscribe to us, but that is entirely up to you. I'll be really grateful. My number 5 is Trailblazer, the John Muir Trail. This game was kickstarted and this was recently fulfilled. And this game plays 1 to 4 players by Mariposa Games. This game is about hiking. It is a very gorgeous, art by Andrew Bosley. Very gorgeous game. It is essentially a worker placement, and there's some things that are quite tricky. Like as usual, worker placement means that you have to go to the place that you want to prioritize first, but there are other ways of scoring that is quite tricky, and kind of like set collection, that you want to collect certain sets or gear in your backpack, or you want to keep using the same one to trigger other bonuses. I feel good about it. And then there are some twists, including if you don't reach the top of the track, you will lose the game. Now, generally, games like that makes me feel like, oh, I really race towards that. But in this case, it probably should, because then there are conditions that makes your hiking goes harder. So you kind of like want to race when it is cheaper to hike and then have to finish the hike spot number 10. Yep. And there are 12 rounds, so that's limited there.
Yes, 12 rounds, 10 opportunities. You've just got to pick those right times. There's a couple of really nice timing decisions in this game.
Yes.
It is a very conventional Euro worker placement, resources in, resources out. But there's a few areas where they've really made the timing work.
Yes, the timing is very good.
Yeah, if you race the hike early, then you open up an action space that gives you the better resources earlier. And then you've got choices in some areas between going on one track versus another, and there's different types of rewards.
So as usual, we will link other videos if we have on a particular game that we talk about, whether the video is coming soon to be published or has been published.
My number 4 is a game that's probably been out for about a year, I believe. It is Squid Inc.
By WizKids. Play 2 to 4 players. And
this is, again, my 5 was an auction. My 4 is a game that's got a huge amount of sort of brutal take that, or at least
it's
positioning
so brutal.
and take that. It's thematically, it's a bit tough to explain. You're fish, but you're in a corporate world, and there's a corporate ladder to move up. But essentially, it's a game.
Food chain.
Indeed. Essentially, it's a game of you either get the cards that have the best powers for you, or you discard cards from a display to gain what's called clout. And though, as you put them on your characters, that's what triggers them to use their powers or to go into play. And their powers they're relatively straightforward powers. They're all about promoting themselves or promoting each other or demoting other players or bumping other players out. And you need to time your plays as best you can to move your people high up on the chain. Because if you get your high value workers or your high value tiles high up in the corporate ladder, you'll score huge multipliers on those points. And so it's the sort of game where it doesn't take very many wrong moves to lose by like 40 points in a 40 to 80 game.
Part of the brutal part of it.
Yeah. And it's got it's definitely a game where you go into it knowing that you're going to be quite brutal to each other. I think it really clicked together well.
I think so too. What I really enjoy about this one is that the fact that the cards, you have a choice to get it for the resource, or there's only one type of resource, or get it to your tableau and then ready to be built later. So you're trying to, okay, this card is really good, but I really need the resource, or this card, really great addition to my engine build strategy or whatever. And that's what you are looking for in this game, trying to find a great combo of workers or cards or tile to get the most out of it.
But the thing to be really wary on from an engine building standpoint is that it has a really significant end game. And there are many things you can do from an engine standpoint that can just be destroyed in the end game, where it's easier to, when all the spaces are full, it's easier to like bump each other's employees just straight off the track.
Well, that's the thing, the higher clout generating or card that you can discard to get the clout, if you take it, there is a safe method of getting it to the top and not being bumped by others.
Indeed. Another very different game, very hard to compare it to anything else.
Yeah, so it's very unique. I think WizKids has got a few games collections that are all quite unique to itself. Like we're talking about Kardashian scale, we're talking about Kardashev scale, we're talking about Seastead, Flotilla, there are maybe similar-ish other game, but there are a few of those that I can think of right now from WizKids. We are sharing this game. Look, we're holding it. Both of us are holding it. That's because
it is number 4 for Stella and number 3 for me for the month. This is another one that's been around for a little while. Came out, I believe, originally in 2017, but it just has this reprint. That is The Quest for El Dorado by Ryan Knizia.
And this game plays 2 to 4 players. This is by an Australian distributor. Well, the logo is, which is Meeple Distribution. And this is the newer edition. You probably, if you have played it for a while, you probably see, oh, the art looks different. This is the new-ish art by Vincent Trey.
So it's a racing game and a deck builder, basically. And it's a really neat, compact version of both.
What I love about it is that number one is racing game. I usually like racing. And number two is the deck building where there are different sets, but you use all the set, but then inside the game, then you determine which one goes down. Not particularly you, but everyone that has got a chance to. And each deck, it has only got 3 cards. That's what I love about it. That's what's unique about it.
Yeah, it makes those, because there's only 3 cards, it makes it quite aggressive to get the best ones based on what the layout might be. What you are fundamentally doing with the cards is you're either getting ones that will cut down jungle, that will sail through water, or that will get your way through the desert. And there's lots of different ways you can lay out the path, and you need to get the high value cards so that you can get through the most dense jungle and things like that. Or you can choose to not do it. There's a couple of other ways around, but they're not as clear. So there's lots of good options. Yeah, I think this is a really nice compact game. I think it has a very...
It's pretty quick as well.
Yep. I think my biggest issue with it is the same issue I have with Living Forest, where there's a big setup breakdown time for a relatively quick game.
Okay.
I think it'd be a great board game arena game.
And my number 3 is Village Big Box. I haven't been lucky enough to play Village, the base game that came out a few years ago. So here comes the Village Big Box with everything else in it. And I love it. This is a type of worker placement with that twist that I wish I would have played sooner. And it has unique resource management that I really love. So in a bag, a cube was randomly out, and then you take the cube and then do the action there, and then that cube goes to your storage. So that cube can be used for certain actions. So that's what I most love about it, is that cube mechanic where you kind of like you have to make tough decisions. You want to take the cube and do weak action. So you don't really want to do that action, but you really need the cube. There are one time where I was like, I really need orange cubes. I really need to do traveling. So I just like take it. The actual action is quite weak, but sometimes you just have to do that. And that's what I love about Village. Now, this is the big box. So it has all the expansions that has ever produced for this. By the way, designer is Inka and Marcus Brown, which is the designer of Exit.
And Rajas of the Ganges.
Yes, so I love Exit escape games. I always like, ooh. So yes, this is what I like about it. And then the expansion, I think the most fun is the marriage one, because there are things that you can break it up, someone dies, and obviously you got to break up the marriage, and things are more efficient when you are married.
Indeed.
Like in real life. Maybe.
Of course. Yes.
Of course. Oh, nice answer, Tarrant.
Yeah, I think this, again, it does something I haven't seen before, where you've got all of your workers are farmers, and then you can send them out to do other jobs. And as you do, they become trained in that, and that makes that action more efficient for the rest of the game.
Yes.
And then you get new workers of later generations. But then as you spend time through the game, all of your older workers die off. And if you get older workers into appropriate places, you can have them die off in the right order to get them into a little, like, it's not quite area control, but it's a tight little area where if you can get the right types of workers dying, you get more points.
That little
really
book. What is it called?
The Chronicle.
The Chronicle. It's really cute. And this big box has got this little book that you can fold, and it's double layered. It's so cute. And you try to time it so it got sent to the Chronicle and it's not sent to the graveyard, which is sad.
Yes.
Now this is a slightly tricky one.
Yes. So we come to each of our top 2 is the same games, but in the opposite order. So my favourite for April is Stella's second, and Stella's favourite is my second. So we're just going to share them both.
Just pick one, yeah. So this is the Mine Soulmate. So the third of the Mine series by Wolfgang Wasch, and one of the game's second and third games designer.
Meaning the game as in the one where you go from 0 to 100.
The game, sorry. Yes, like, what's game? It's the game.
Yes.
So the Mine Soulmate is my number 1 and Tarrant's number 2.
Yes.
This is a one addition of mechanic added to it, but it changed
everything.
It's mind-blowing. not everything, but just the seer. So there's one person that is the seer, and that person sees the card, will part some of the cards, not all, and then cards got shuffled, and then it distributed to everyone. And then the seer will write one number, and then everyone's do like the mine, like put everything face down. The seer checks if it's right or not.
Yeah, it sounds.
It sounds it
sounded so similar. It was, I couldn't even conceive what was different about this game until playing it.
When I heard myself saying it, hang on, that doesn't sound very much. But it adds puzzle deduction.
Yeah, it turns the whole, instead of being that old school mind where it's just, all right, original mind, you're playing the cards face up and you're trying to work out if you're next or not. In this one, everyone's playing the cards face down, and there was some of that in the Mind Extreme, but this time you play it face down, one person checks it, and if you get it wrong, you redistribute the cards and you play them face down again. And so by gradually seeing more cards and having the seer player writing some of the numbers down, just to give you that little bit extra, it turns it into a deduction puzzle that you can play round to round.
Yeah.
And sometimes you get it all right at the start, and I find it actually less fun. I like getting the first one wrong and then having to work through the deduction sort of thing.
Like from level 1 was just like, 4 cards, and then getting to 12, so the seer sees 3 out of the 4 cards in level 1, and as it goes, there are more and more cards, and the seer would probably see less.
Certainly less by proportion, at least on the first round, and then they see them all to check them.
Yeah.
But I really like that feeling of, I've seen a couple of early cards one time, and I've seen the pace at which people have been playing them, and I'm sort of assuming, all right, I still think this card was about third, and then I see one earlier that's like, well, this must have been the second one, and someone played it quickly after someone else, so it's probably somewhere in there near. So I thought it really came together very well. It felt like a completely different game.
And this game is by NSV and plays 2 to 4 players. Yes. And the first time we played it, the 4 of us finished. We
got to level, I think we failed on level 10.
Yeah, we've done so well. Like out of the 12 levels, it's 10. It's so good. It's so quick. It's so compact. It's great for travel. You should play it. That is it.
That is it.
I dropped the mic. There's no mic. The Mayan Soulmates.
This is another new
Society.
One.
So this plays 2 to
6 players.
And this is a draft game with a twists.
Yes. So this is by Paolo Mori, who's been around for a long time doing.
Are you saying that he's old?
No, he's just got a lot of good games out there, from heavy down to light.
Yeah.
This is a pretty light game. It is basically draw cards and collect sets.
It's so good. Continue.
So it's draw cards and collect sets. There's some face-up cards you can draw from, or you can go from the deck. And then once you've got a set, you play it. It can be a set of matching colour or of matching role, matching icon. And it will score you points in various ways. Big sets will score more points. Sets of certain colours will help you advance on a track for that colour. And then the roles have their own abilities. The twist that makes this game really fun is that when you play a set, everything else in your hand goes back on the table.
In the market.
Into the market for everyone to take. So it's a little bit push your luck. There's also a push your luck element because the game each round will end abruptly based on monkey cards being drawn out of the deck. And, I'm not describing a highly challenging, heavy Euro strategy anything here. There's a lot of draw and see what happens, but there's a whole lot of really simple replayability to it because there's 12 different decks of cards and you pick 6 of them and shuffle them in together. They all have different roles that'll help you in one area but not another. So there's one that makes it easier to advance on the colour tracks.
Yes.
There's one that doesn't advance on the colour tracks at all, but there's way more of them, so it's easier to make big sets with them.
I love it as well. Well, obviously, you'll love it more than I love it. Is that how it works? Because it's number 1, number 2? Not necessarily.
You just may love that one even more.
Yeah. So what I love about this is drafting twist where, okay, you want to push your luck, you get the cards that you're trying to get what you want, but then, oh no, I can't use all this. Oh no, I have to give it out all to opponents to take. That was a sad moment every time that happens. Not always. There's a card that makes you keep some of the cards, but on top of that, you also have to look at the tracks that you're trying to advance and the bonus it'll give you. It's amazing.
Yeah, because there's a real change in pace in the game as well, because each of the color tracks, you can only advance on it if the set you play exceeds a certain size, and pretty much across the board that gets bigger. So in round 1, you can move a lot of steps quickly with a lot of small sets, but then there's this extra focus on big sets towards the end, so the game even changes pace.
Yeah.
All so simple, and this is, this is very light to medium. I could see this being the one that I first introduced people to in a meetup context, and I could see this being really big in the meetup circuit this year.
All right, let's get that game to our meetup next week. We have a fortnightly meetup in Melbourne at Melbourne Lion Pub every second Wednesday. So look it up. It's called We Play Board Games Melbourne at meetup.com. If you are in Melbourne or if you are visiting Melbourne, come and join us. It is a free meetup, but because it is a local business, we're trying to help them as well. They're trying to help us. We encourage people to buy food or drink or both. Yes.
That is our collective top 5s for the very busy month of April.
Yes.
A little bit of overlap there. I think we had 3 overlaps this time.
Better than 5.
But yeah, 2 very clear front runners for both of us there.
Any of these games you've heard of, any of these games you feel excited about, any of games that you want to share with us that is your highlight, please let us know. And that is all. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.